And I was kind of sailing that through the air, giving you a sense of flame coming out the back of the stick, right? The third angel sounded, there fell a great star from heaven, burning as a lamp. And it fell upon the third part of the rivers, fountains, and waters, and it made them bitter. And it was like wormwood. And we talked about how wormwood, one of the translations for wormwood is actually Chernobyl in the appropriate language. It goes back to, you can translate it back to that. I can't remember, black moss or something like that. But I did look this up, and it is a translation, a possible translation. I only brought that up because Chernobyl was the incident that we had that was a global meltdown for a nuclear incident. And this scripture here says that people died because the waters were made bitter, and they died from the bitterness. That term bitter means impure, so I'm wondering if that doesn't reference something to do with nuclear fallout. So, and then the fourth one sounded, verse 12, in that the sun, the moon, and the stars, a third of them were smitten so that they shone a third of the day less, which means that if the sun would shine from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., that 12-hour period, it would only shine from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. because you'd lose a third of the day, right? And I put the little cone on my head, like the little doggy cone, and I'm like, hey, if I look up through a cone, it's like this, the field of view is up higher, I lose daylight, right? It wasn't that the sun, it's not like somebody took a bite out of the sun like an Oreo cookie, because that would not have stopped the sun from shining for a third part of the day. That would have only made it a third part darker, right? It wouldn't have stopped it from shining. This says it stopped shining. So I think what this is saying is there's so much debris, smoke, things like that in the air that it falsely elevates the horizon so that the sun can't shine through it. So this could mean, again, that there was nuclear, that would do it. Widespread nuclear experience would do something like that. Lack of rain and heavy dust storms could do that. Any kind of debris in the atmosphere could reduce the sun, moon, and stars' shining ability by a third. That's quite a bit. Because that would be, I'm going to guess, give or take some change, it's probably 23 degrees on both sides. Right? That's quite a bit. So, here we go, chapter 9. And the fifth angel sounded, and this is, by the way, this is where we get to meet the beast. If you remember, early on, I told you that when we see the beast, we're going to see the beast in 5 different forms. We're going to see a beast that's a demon, which we're going to introduce the demon here in just a minute. This is the first beast we get to see. We have a man who's a beast. We have a little beast who is the religious leader that works with the beast man. We have a beast financial system that is responsible for stopping people or enabling people to buy, sell, and trade. And then we have a beast political system that's made out of a consortium of kingdoms. So when we see these beast references, we have 5 different possibilities. The beast is multifaceted. So we're going to look, as we see them, we're going to look at them and we're going to talk about which one. So I'm giving you a heads up. We're dealing with the demon right now, fallen angel, that is the beast spirit that inhabits the man who is the beast man. So let's read it and keep going. And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven to earth, and to him was given the key to the bottomless pit. So when you see star and him, you know immediately that you're talking about an angel. So there was an angel who was in heaven and left heaven and was given a key to the bottomless pit. I think this probably references Satan. Because Satan is the accuser of the brethren. Scripture says that he's before God accusing the brethren. And at some point, and we'll read about this more, I think, in Revelation 12, at some point Satan is kicked out and is no longer allowed to accuse the church. And at that point he realizes his time is short. Scripture says, woe to the earth because he comes to you with great fury. So I think this references the time when Satan is finally told he is no longer allowed in the presence of God to accuse the brethren. Star fell from heaven to the earth. To him was given a key to the bottomless pit. He opened the bottomless pit, and there arose smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke in the pit. There came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and to them was given power as a scorpion of the earth has power. It was commanded these locusts that were like scorpions, that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their forehead. Only those men, people, that do not have the seal of God in their forehead. Now, if you remember, we read that back in chapter 7, there were 144,000 of all the tribes of Israel that had been sealed. And there was one that came out and told the four angels that were on the four corners of the earth that held back the four winds, don't do anything, don't harm the earth until we have sealed the servants of our God. And I heard of all the tribes of Israel that 144,000 were sealed. 12,000 from the tribe of Judah, 12,000 from Issachar, 12,000 from Zebulun, so on and so forth, right? So we know that this scripture verse right here references that 144,000 because they were sealed in their foreheads. Scripture tells us that. But where's everybody else at? Does that mean that those of us in this room, since we were not part of the 144,000, that we are going to be pursued by these creatures that are like locusts and that have stingers like scorpions, and that we're going to end up having to put up with them? Because this says we're sealed in their forehead. Now here's an interesting thing, because Scripture tells us that we have been sealed, right? Hang on a second here, bear with me for a second. Let me get my card deck out real fast.